Hello, and welcome back to Kathy Houchins Stories. I'm Kathy Houchins, and I'm delighted that you're here with me today. This is episode number 5 of the Sisterhood Chronicles, and we're going to jump in and talk about Luna's legacy today. We're going to dive deep in finding out about it because Luna is the pillar of loyalty. You know, her whole world nearly fell apart when she learned the truth about her bloodline. Let me ask you, what would you do if you discovered your entire identity was built on a lie? Well, it's a question to think about. Now, Luna, let's talk about Luna first, a little bit about her. Now, she's a brilliant attorney. She's the sister who never wavers in her dedication to justice and her family. While her other sisters found their paths, Bella found it in fashion, Eleanor found it in banking, and Evie found it in real estate. Luna chose law. She returned to Hamp's Bayou to build something meaningful and to use her Yale education to serve her community. But here's what Luna did not know. The very case that would make her question everything was about to walk through her door. Now, in town, Mayor had some folks come in and make a proposal, so he called a special meeting to bring it before the city council and to the city people, the citizens of Hamp's Bayou. And so Luna, Eleanor, and Evie attended out of curiosity. Bella was still in New York. So the next day, the mayor decides to call a meeting. And not to call a meeting, but to call Eleanor to get her opinion. Now, I'm going to read you the section in here of that conversation, of that telephone conversation. It's in chapter 5. Eleanor's phone rang again. This time it was the mayor. Hello, this is Eleanor Hicks. May I help you? Eleanor answered, her tone professional and yet tinged with a little bit of apprehension. Eleanor, it's Bob Carlson, and I was hoping I could take a few minutes of your time to get your impression of how the meeting went last night with the casino group. The mayor's voice crackled through the line, betraying an underlying concern. Listening intently, Eleanor sensed a subtle shift in the mayor's demeanor, a hint of unease. I saw you, Evie Tack, and Luna Wadsworth in the back row seats of the meeting room, and I know you heard them just before they left. I am concerned that they may have issued some sort of threat to our city. What is your impression? The mayor inquired, his words heavy with implication. Eleanor paused, considering her response carefully. You know, Bob, I don't disagree with you, but I'm not sure what kind of threat they can bring. It would be an extremely poor mistake to take revenge out on the council members, you, or anyone else in this town. Eleanor replied, her voice steady despite the unease gnawing on her inside. It's rather odd for anyone to propose a casino in Hamp's Bayou. Everybody knows in Mississippi, they're all down in Biloxi. And so Luna couldn't shake a feeling that there was something more going on here. Someone called Marcus Delgado was behind this casino, and Luna's legal instincts are screaming that this isn't over. Luna and her sisters agreed to jump in and investigate and find out as much as they can. So the investigation begins, and Luna puts her best investigator, John, on the case. She said, dig up everything you can on this Marcus Delgado. Why does he want to put a casino in Hamp's Bayou? Why not down in Biloxi with the rest of them? There was something very odd going on here. So John does his investigation and gets some information and calls Luna and says, we need to have a meeting. I've got something you need to know. So in chapter 6, I'm going to read you out of the book that meeting that John and Luna had. As Luna approached the designated meeting spot, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking into a trap. But she couldn't ignore John's plea for help, not when the fate of her town hung in the balance. With every step, Luna's heart pounded louder in her chest, and the darkness seemed to close in around her. Little did she know she was about to uncover a truth so sinister it would change everything she thought she knew about Mr. Delgado and the shadowy forces at play in Hamp's Bayou. As Luna reached the rendezvous point, John stepped out in the shadows, his expression grave. Luna, John began, his voice barely above a whisper, I found out who Mr. Delgado is. He's Luna fainted. And I coughed intentionally there because I didn't want you to know what he found out. You need to read the book to understand that. However, I will give you this much, that Delgado is a dangerous criminal trying to destroy their town. Luna has dedicated her life now to keeping this man out of Hamps Bayou. All right, now here's where it's going to get a little more complicated. Remember Bella's husband, David? John also found out that David is actually Delgado's nephew. Yes, I know. It's a very, very weird, but there's a reason behind all this in the story, which you'll find out later. You may remember in book 1 when David had to meet with Delgado and tell him he was leaving Barcelona and going back to New York with Bella. Well, that meeting is very interesting because that's when Delgado says, I'm going to build a casino, and it's not about money, but it's about family, it's about legacy, it's about a man trying to reconnect. Or is it? Don't know. But between you and me, Delgado has a plan that doesn't match up with what he's telling everybody else. Luna has become very suspicious and has asked John to find a way to create a meeting time with Delgado. She wanted to meet with him and ask him some questions. That meeting happened, and they met, and in the story, in the book, you can read what happened there, and you'll want to know that this was not a fun-filled meeting. This was a battle of wills between a woman who values justice and a man who demands loyalty just because of who he is. But Luna refuses to be controlled and knows in her gut that this man is dangerous for Hamps Bayou and for her and her sisters. So Luna brings her sisters up to speed with all the conversations she's had, and the sisters pledge war to protect their home. They do everything they can think of to thwart Delgado's forward motion to bring a casino there. Eleanor uses her banking connections to stop Delgado's financing. Evie uses psychic abilities to see visions to find out what would happen to Hamps Bayou if a casino really did show up there. And Bella's still in New York, but she'll be home soon and will be contributing a whole lot more. Now you know that David is Delgado's nephew. Don't tell anyone, because that's an important factor that they need to find out when they're reading the book. So thanks. Keep it quiet. So Luna meets with David now to find out what's happening with him, and tells him that all the sisters other than Bella know that he's Delgado's nephew. So David's very drawn back about this because he's very aware of how ruthless Delgado is. And he may think that meeting with Luna would be a betrayal to him, and therefore his wrath would be swift and merciless, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. That's the kind of man he was. And David wasn't quite sure what to do. He was struck between two impossibilities. His uncle, who was his family, his mother's brother, and when he was in Barcelona, his uncle took care of him when he got out of the orphanage. And so then he had Bella. That was the other part. And he blows that. And you find that out in the first book. So anyway, Delgado's message to David early on was clear. Loyalty is paramount. And that David owed Delgado everything. But loyalty was not in David's path at this point. Well, you're going to find out more as you read into it. Now, something extraordinary happens here. And the sisters have always been protected by a mysterious blue light. They all have dreams about it and visions about it, but they've never really seen it. But now there comes a special time. They're having a special ceremony and a special parcel of the land that they always felt required to protect. They felt compelled to protect it. So they're having this special ceremony, and this blue light comes down smack in the middle of their circle. And a section in the middle clears up as the blue light moves behind them. And this man goes in front of each one of them and sees them and talks to them. And I'm going to read you a little section out of there of what happened. So this person says inside the blue light, hello, my sweet ones. He said to them in a voice they recognized from the blue light dreams. It's wonderful to see you all again. The sisters could not remove their eyes from this tall man who was talking to them. It seems that he knew them, but they didn't remember him. They all knew the voice. It made their hearts feel calm, joyful, and at peace. I can see from your faces that you're confused as to who I am. You do not remember me. That seems to be a problem in this realm, he offered them some assurance in their confusion. Let me take a moment to calm any concerns you may have. I'm a divine presence, assigned as your guardian. I'm called Dacier, and I'm assigned to provide guidance and protection to you. You may not remember now, but hopefully I can stir up a memory of when we all came down in the blue light together. Yes, Dacier has memories with them for many years. And he explains a few more things as they begin to remember why they were here, and other memories were returning that allowed them to understand who they were. Of course, that's happening, and back in Barcelona, Spain, Delgado's doing some plotting. He determined some new course of action because everything he was working on was falling apart. So he bought some land that was right next door to Hamps Bayou, and it's just outside of the city limits. And he had his man Victor there just to get things going, brought all kinds of equipment and set it up and was clearing the land. And he was finally going to get this casino done. However, some archaeological investigators make a discovery that changes everything. And let me read you that. You'll get the kick out of this. One of the inspectors pulled Victor aside and said, "Sir, we're inspecting the land for potential endangered species habitat when we uncovered what appear to be grave sites. There are human remains and artifacts. We are required to stop what we're doing and call in the relevant authorities to assess this site and determine its historical significance, if any." Victor asked the inspector, "Do you have any idea, sir, how long this will take? We have a casino to build here." The inspector looked at him and said, "Sir, this could take years." That's not good news for Victor, and Mr. Delgado's going to go crazy. But here's something the sisters had no idea about. Where they had stood together on that special ceremony that they had, on that very parcel of land where the blue light came down and they talked with Dacier, and the land that Luna and her sisters always felt compelled to protect, that it was actually sacred ground all along. So Luna's journey shows us that true loyalty isn't about blood or obligation. It's about choosing to stand by those who share your values, who fight for what's right, who love you for who you are, and not what you can do for them. Luna chose her sisters over family. She chose justice over family obligation. She chose earned loyalty over demanded loyalty. And in the end, the universe seemed to reward her choices. But the story's not over. Delgado's empire seems to be crumbling. His plans are in ruins, but despite desperate men do desperate things. So many things are not going his way, but he's determined. A casino will be built by Hamps Bayou. He was going to do it one way or another. So let's go back to Hamps Bayou. Bella has flown back in to be with Eleanor and her sisters because Blaine's plane has just crashed, and her sisters are bringing her up to speed as well as with what's happening in Hamps Bayou. Luna's legacy teaches us that Loyalty must be earned, not demanded. The family isn't just about blood, it's about the bonds we choose. Next time, we're going to explore Sister Evie, who sees what the future holds and what happens when she finally sees what she's believed all along. Remember, all 5 books are on the Sisterhood Chronicle are available now, including the hardcover of the bundle book. Now that this is the soft cover of the bundle book, but it's a big thick book, and you can get the bundle hardback on Lulu. Otherwise, all books, including the paperback of the bundle, are on Amazon and on Kindle. So just remember that true loyalty isn't blind obedience. It's conscious choice. And some bonds are chosen, and those are often the strongest of all. I'm Kathy Houchins, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.